Hey everybody, how you doing? Happy Sunday. All right, there we go. That sadly was the last of my coffee. Anyway, welcome to it. Hope you guys are doing well. I want to say huge shout out to, there's too many of you guys that took advantage of the homework last week and crushed. I sent out almost all the goodies, although I still have a couple left. So if you get into this week's homework, or if you go back to any week's homework, remember, not only do you get access to any of the ebooks you want, I'm also opening up those that do the homework get a discount to the Patreon, to the Slack, and then also hi Adil. Also for those of you in the US, I got some goodies for you guys. So anyway, check it out. We'd love to see you in there. Gonna do all the fun stuff. We're going through a lot of good things today. So let's just get right into it because it is slam packed. So number one thing we're going to cover today, the homework we're going to get into is creative testing. Now this is sort of a big piece, so we're going to cover it in a real deep dive today. And then we're also going to back end with how to scale a CBO. So without any further ado, we're going to dive into it. We're also going to get into announcing the new ebook that's coming out this week. And writing a new ebook on how to do creative testing and scale CBO. So a lot of what's going on in here will eventually make it into an ebook, and then eventually make it to Facebook reps, and then eventually they'll teach it to everybody else in like 6 to 9 months. So that sounds sort of a haughty thing to say, but it's the same thing they said at the Power 5 and whatever else. So anyway, let's get to it. So first, if you enjoy these lives, I really would appreciate if you were to invite like one person to this channel. That's a huge deal. You know, almost everybody that I see entering this channel lately knows at least several of other people in this channel, and that means that this is really providing a lot of value and benefit for everybody, and that means a lot to me. Also, I want to say thank you to everyone that's coming in and really asking a lot of questions. Please feel free to ask more questions. I got more time now, so let's get to that. Hey Mitchell. So yeah, during the week, if y'all have any questions, if y'all have anything that you need answered, if there's any real big things bothering you, there's no question too big or too small. Don't worry about feeling. I see a lot of people DM me stuff and they're like, oh, I don't want to feel stupid or this or that. It's not. And what I tell a lot of the people is, your question isn't stupid. As a matter of fact, there's 20 other people that this week that have asked me that exact same question, and they all feel stupid. But if you were to go in and ask it in a public place, you're going to help out so many people, and you can be an authority for everybody else. So, that being said, let's get right to it. This week, proper way to creative test with CBO and how to eventually take that and really find your winner. So, first thing I really want to say to you guys is, number one, we talk a lot in this group. And we talk everywhere. A lot of people talk about all the time how to best optimize your campaigns, how to best set up retargeting, what the best things for all sorts of stuff. Hi, Ash. What I want to say is the number one most overlooked thing that I see all the time, and I'm guilty of it myself, is your creative. The creative is the biggest needle mover in the platform. If you have good creative, you don't need to worry about the right manual bid. If you've got good creative, you don't need a really well-built website that's going to really trick people on some click funnel to spend some money on stuff, because you're making something that people want to buy. If people sell themselves based on your ads, then you don't need to sell them somewhere else. You know, oftentimes, creative is the very first thing that gets somebody into whether or not they want to make a purchase. And if your creative is good, people sell themselves on your product and sell their friends on your product before they ever get it, before they ever get anywhere else in your system. It is the number one needle mover. And what I can tell you is ways to evaluate whether or not creative is the thing to be moved. If your CPMs are static, but your performance isn't good, the number one way to move it down isn't necessarily to get a lower bid. A lot of times people say, well, I'm trying to scale up and I lose as soon as I spend past $50. Or I've got a manual bid, which is what I can afford, and it's not making things work. Or this lookalike audience is running out. First off, manual bids are something that you set for your business practice. And if your manual bid isn't serving, then the creative isn't good enough or your price is too low. And also, lookalike audiences will never run out. There's no way that you're going to be spending enough money to completely saturate the fuck out of that lookalike audience, and it will stop working for you. Most of the time what happens is people get lucky once or twice right off the bat, and then they try to find success elsewhere by scaling into it. Hey, Billy. And that's where they fail. And I want to stress that because, for some context, I might spend $10,000 a day against the lookalike audience, and I'm continuing to spend into it every single day. If you're not spending $5,000, $10,000 a day, odds are that over the entire course of the year, you'll never exhaust that lookalike audience. Plus, the lookalike audience is updated every few days, so the more sales that you're getting, the more traffic you're getting, the more raw data you're getting into building that lookalike audience. The concept of a lookalike not stopping working for you, needing to build a new one, is bullshit. It's an old trick being taught by out-of-date gurus, and we're going to get away from that. It's absolute shit, and I want you to feel confident that as somebody that is working very closely with the Facebook team inside the engineering, inside of auction and measurement, that is spending a fuck ton of money and has for years and years and years with absolutely nothing to sell you, that's absolute bullshit. So we need to get to the number one thing that's going to move it. I mean, and we talk about a lot of stuff, right? We talk about retargeting, which we'll get into more here. And we talk about scaling with CBO, and we're going to get into that more here. We talk about audiences and exclusions and bids and upsells and all that stuff, and it's really, really important. But your creative is the number one thing. And what I want to tell you this is, as an example, you go to the store and you look at products, right? When you make a decision to buy a product, unless you've got many friends or personal experience to tell you one thing is better than the other, the box, the container, the commercial, the thing that tells you, the thing that sells you on the product before you ever get to try it is the thing that really makes a decision. And a lot of times our Facebook ads are often overlooked. I have to say, and I'm guilty of it myself. Being somebody that doesn't think of myself as a creative, that's really worried about all sorts of other things. What I can tell you is that if you know your CPMs are static and your CPCs are static and your website has a pretty steady conversion rate, and as you spend up, your performance drops, then it's not CBO, it's not Facebook, it's not your website, it's not your targeting, it's your creative. And 90% of the people that I talk to, the creative is the issue. That's exactly what's breaking. So let's get into how to fix it. Now, we're going to use CBO to fix this, right? So first off, CBO, campaign budget optimization. Now, CBO is used by many people to say, here's my 5 audiences, spend against it however you see fit. What we're going to do is we're going to cheat that system a little bit. So we need to do creative testing, okay? So the proper creative testing budget tends to be about 10 to 20% of your overall budget. So for the purposes today, we're going to say somebody's spending $1,000 a day. Now, if you could be spending $100 a day, you could be spending $50,000 a day. I'm just using that for easy math, all right? So if your entire account's spending $1,000 a day, your testing budget will be 100 of that 1,000 per day, okay? So you have $100 a day to spend on testing. Now this also goes back to the bucket-based CBO, which is the big move that I'm building with Facebook, and something that this week I've been able to scale tremendously. I'm not going to get into too many specifics, but I've been able to take one piece of creative that over testing. It took me 6 weeks to do creative testing to find a winner. And I found that winner about a week ago, and I've been able to over 10x my spend on that winner with CBO and maintaining an above goal performance. And that's because the creative was proper. I found the right targeting, and I was able to scale into it, monitoring my CPMs every day to make sure that I had more opportunity in these audiences and my CPCs didn't rise. And because my CPCs didn't rise, and because my CPMs didn't rise, and because I know that the conversion rate on my website is static, that I had more opportunity with my creative. And that is how we can evaluate winners and losers. So what we're going to do here is concept testing. So creative concepts. Now what this means is we're not going to go we're going to keep the copy of the post the same. You should more or less have a control copy, okay? So your copy is going to be the same against every ad. The main thing we're going to change here is the video or the image, okay? Now, it can be a video, it can be an image, it can be a carousel. I'm using all of those. And also, I like to always use auto placement if possible, but in this case, if you've got something that works really, that you feel really confident as an Instagram story, for instance, run it only as an Instagram story, that's fine. We don't need to make sure that everything works everywhere. This is about finding a single place where you can win and you can build an entire campaign off of your winning creative. Bucket-based CBO relies on winning creative. It relies on take a creative concept and then maximize the exposure of that concept. Basically finding a winning ad and then spreading that winning ad against as many people as possible. So how do you find that winning ad? So what we're going to do is take our $100 a day. Now say you've got, currently right now you're running 3 or 4 different ads in prospecting and retargeting, okay? And I would say you can even use the same ad in prospecting and retargeting, but we'll get to that later. Hey, everybody. So what we're going to get to right now is you have a winning ad, okay? So let's take that winning ad as our control. Let's find out what the CPM, CPCs, cost per conversion. Hey, Shimar, how you doing? So what's our CPA, our CPM, and our CPC for that aggregately over the last week or so? And you're probably mapping this out on a Scrum doc, and if you're not, that's fine. Join the Patreon, you can get the Scrum Doc ebook, and if you get that ebook or you do any of the homework, I'll send you a template copy so you can make sure that you are on the same page as all the other advertisers here, whether you're spending $100 a day or $50,000. Me personally, I'm in the 5-figure a day range, closer to the $50,000 than I am the $100. I don't want to get too much into it, and it wildly changes, and as I'm getting more success, it's ramping the fuck up. Anyway, what we're going to get to is, out of that $100, what I want you to do is you have your benchmark performance, right? Your benchmark is your top performing creative. Say CPMs are $20. Your cost per click is $2, and your cost per sale is $50. Let's just use that as our benchmark. Those aren't mine, those aren't yours, but the point is that's really simple, easy math. And it's something that realistically we should be able to kind of build a campaign around for the majority of the people in this room. So our cost per sale is $50. Our CPM, cost per 1,000 impressions, is $20. And our CPC, our cost per click, is $2. And if these are your numbers, fantastic. If your numbers are much worse than that or much better than that, great. This is just for an example. So what we're going to do is now take, if you can, let's take 3 new creative ideas, okay? And now creative ideas, this is the same set of copy, but 3 different images or videos or Instagram stories or carousels, anything. And we're going to set up a campaign, a CBO creative testing campaign at $100 a day budget. And then we're going to take our best performing audiences, right? Now your best performing audiences is probably going to be a value-based lookalike, and then a lookalike of that last 180 days based around the purchasers of the very product you're trying to sell. So say it's a $50 product that you're trying to sell, do purchasers of that specific product, which goes back to some of our other trips, and this will actually be one of the things that's in the new ebook, but of custom conversions and custom lookalikes based around those conversions. But anyway, we can get into that stuff later. We're going to do a value-based lookalike and a lookalike of the purchasers of the very specific product that you're trying to sell in the last 180 days, and then maybe a purchaser lookalike of everybody that's bought from you in the last month. 1% combining those 3 lookalikes into one audience. All right, so it's a 1% value-based lookalike of your entire account, a 1% of everybody that's bought from you in the last 30 days, and then a 1% of everybody that's purchased the product that you're selling in the last 6 months. Those stacked as one audience. That's going to be your test audience, because that audience should crush. If it can't crush against that audience, then it's not good enough. Hi, Ital. And what we're trying to do here is, really give our creative the best opportunity to win at the smallest budget. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. So we're going to try to give everybody the best chance of winning So we're not gonna try to make it work any harder than we can. Our creative should be able to come in at above goal. Our return on ad spend above goal, our CPA below goal against this stacked lookalike testing audience, right? So this is our testing audience, 3 lookalikes in one ad set. So the ad set is those 3 lookalikes, and exclude your retargeting pool. So exclude anybody that's been to your site in like the last week, or anybody that's purchased from you in the last 6 months. This is cold prospecting, people that are not in your retargeting pools, that are in your lookalike audiences. This is what you're going to test against. So you've got your 3 creative concepts that you want to test. Now maybe you've got one version of each, or you've got several versions of each. That's okay. I don't know where the dog is. I think he's outside. Oh no, he's right here. So anyway, we're going to go off the example of Morrison the dog, is the puppy. Yeah. So we're going to go off the concept of Morrison the dog's dog food for this example, right? So concept number 1 is really happy dog running through the field video, right? And we've got one video which we've cut 2 or 3 different ways. There's a 15-second, a 30-second, a 1 minute, right? And then we've also got another concept which is the dog eating the food out of a bowl, right? So there's one with the happy dog, there's one where he's buried nose deep in it, and one with him standing next to the bowl with the bag next to it. Those are 2 different concepts. And concept number 3 might be just the product itself, right? So 2 or 3 different product shots. So then we have a video concept and we have 2 photo concepts, but hopefully that makes sense as how those are 3 different creative concepts, okay? Now we're going to take the creative for each one of these concepts and we're going to put them inside the same ad sets. So the way that this is going to work, you have your lookalike testing audience, right? Your 3 lookalikes that are stacked inside of one ad set, and that's how you're testing your creative. So ad set number 1 is those 3 lookalikes with the videos of the dog running through the field. Ad set number 2, the exact same lookalikes in an ad set, but with the other creative of the dog eating the food. Ad set number 3, those exact 3 lookalikes, again, with the product shots. Now, we're not concerned that they're not excluding each other. We don't care that it's the same targeting, because our spend is going to be so low against these lookalikes. Because remember, a lookalike audience, if you're not spending $20,000, $50,000 a day against them, they're never going to exhaust. They update every few days. And because you're only doing creative testing, you don't give a shit if they cannibalize each other. You want the strongest one to win. Anything that wins is what you're going to run with. And if it doesn't win, then it doesn't matter. You're not emotionally attached to these creatives, and it should be easy enough for you to create new ideas. And they don't have to be that good. You just need more of them, okay? So, those 3 audiences are going to be set against each other. Now, your campaign budget is going to be at $100, right? What I want you to do is inside of the CBO, inside of each one of those ad sets, there's you can set spend limits. And now this is, after talking to my Facebook reps, apparently the place, IKEA, this is one of the places where people are leaving a lot of versatility of the CBO on the table. And this is something that as I've begun to use it, all my CBO campaigns have begun to stabilize. And I've been able to massively scale all of my winning testing. It's the min and max spends. Before, you used to set an ad set budget, say $100. Now, what we're going to do is we can set a range of what we want that to spend. And I'll set my campaign budget. Hi, Kia. We'll set our campaign budget at what we're willing to spend every single day, right? So it's 10% of our budget. Our budget in this example case, which is by no means an expectation of anybody, $1,000, all right? And it's just that for simple math. If you're spending $100, great. If you're spending $10,000, great. If you're more like me and you're spending $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, great. It doesn't matter, right? 10% of your budget goes to this creative testing. In that case, it's $1,000 a daily budget, so $100 a day inside of creative testing. So our CBO is set to $1,000, right? Now, each one of these ad sets, we're going to try to set it so that the minimum spend doesn't need to necessarily reach $100, but the maximum spend is going to exceed it. So what we want to do is make sure that we're getting at least some money each week or each day into each ad set. So we're getting a nice minimum spend. So if you have $100, let's set the minimum to $25 and the maximum to $35. Okay? So then what you're doing is you're saying that your minimum spend is about 75% of your total campaign budget. And your maximum spend is roughly 50% more than your minimum. Theoretically, it should be $25 and $37.50. But, whatever. So then the idea is, you're telling Facebook that you want to spend at least $75 a day no matter what, and there's another $25 that Facebook can spend wherever they want to. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow Facebook to test the creatives that it likes and try to scale them. And you're going to get signals from Facebook on what's winning by what's getting more spend. And if something gets more spend and it wins, great. If it gets more spend and it loses, then you also know, great, whether or not it's a winner. So, right now we have $100 a day with 3 creative concepts, all going against the 1% lookalike excluding retargeting. Each one of these 1% lookalikes has a minimum spend of $25 and a maximum spend of $35 or $37.50 if you want to overachieve. Our campaign CBO is set to $100. Now these are going to start to run. And you're hopefully using auto placement, or if it's a story, then it's story only placement. There's no right or wrong there. You want to give this creative the best opportunity to win, and if that means you run it anywhere it can, anywhere that it's built for, right? And now if it's built specifically for mobile Facebook newsfeed, you can exclude Instagram. You can do any of that stuff. This goes very much against a lot of the teachings that we've gone over before, but that's because this is creative testing. We just need to find the creative in a place where it's going to win, giving it the least amount of difficulty that we can. We should have an environment where that creative should thrive. And if it doesn't thrive there, then we know we're going to move on. Okay, so based on your CPA goal, so say your cost per sale should be $50. If you should probably spend 4 to 10 times your CPA goal before really evaluating this piece of creative. So what I would say your goal is $50, I would start to look at this creative after it spends $300 to $400, whether or not it's winning. Also, for your creatives, while you're doing the testing, you don't need to necessarily evaluate each creative inside of each ad set. You want to see how those ad sets are working, because each ad set has a creative concept. Some creative concepts will just outperform other ones, right? No matter what. You might get one that's giving you a 1.3 and one that's giving you a 0.4. There's no amount of polishing that's going to get that 0.4 up to the 1.3 and vice versa, right? So you're just trying to find winning concepts. As you test these, if any of them don't work out, right? Say you spent $250 on this thing, so it's been live for maybe 7 to 10 days, after a week, and it's coming in at like a 0.3, and it's not good enough, turn it off, launch a new concept. You should always have 2 or 3 creative concepts ready to go. That way you can turn them off or turn them on as, as performance dictates. Now this is the entry-level creative testing. Now, while you're running this, I also want you to be looking at each of the creatives, going into them and monitoring the comments. We want to be able to go in there and turn off, delete any bad comments. Leave only things that are positive reviews about the product or positive comments about the brand. If there's a question, get rid of it. Negative comment, get rid of it. You only want all the likes and shares and positive comments that you can, because this will, when somebody else sees this ad, one, it's like being able to monitor your Amazon reviews or your Yelp reviews. But 2, if there's only positive feedback, then Facebook looks at that ad as having a higher quality score. And if it has a higher quality score, you're going to get lower CPMs and longer delivery for every dollar that you spend, because Facebook is looking at this thing as a higher quality ad that gives a better experience to the customer, which makes Facebook more enjoyable for the end user. So every day you need to go in and delete the bad comments and reply back to some questions, or DM people. When somebody questions you on something, send them a direct message and delete their comment. Leave only positive comments. Now, we've only gone into bad cases. So when you get something that is strong, right? Like it's coming in, now maybe break even for you is, we'll use easy math, is a 1x, right? You want your prospecting ad to run a 1x because you've been paying a lot of attention and you know that prospecting is really only a break even effort to drive volume into your retargeting, and your retargeting is where you're going to try to double, triple, quadruple your money. So prospecting is really only there to drive more volume to where you make all of your profit, right? And you're retargeting with Google branded search, hopefully, and you've got other platforms in place too that are driving traffic. So your prospecting only needs to break even. So if you're getting something that's getting close to breaking even, right? Like it's getting you the 0.7, 0.8 on a 1, right? This is, and if your break even is a 1.5, then do the math to ramp it up there. I'm just, for the simplicity of the math today, that's what we're talking about. So if success is a 1 and your creative is getting a 0.7 or 0.8 and your other ideas aren't, what we can do then is evolve things. And this, in my testing, I'm calling this moving it to the minors, right? And here what we want is we're going to move from the 1% lookalike to a 2%. So it's going to be the same exact audiences, but now it's going to be incremental. Where before it was 0 to 1%, now it's going to be 1 to 2%. Same 3 audiences, but it's going to be the 2% lookalikes of these. And then, in addition to that, we also want to run it against an interest group or something. Now, what I've been doing that has been super successful is running it just against broad, right? So say, in this case, it's a product for men, right? So now you're selling to your 1% lookalike, your 2% lookalike, and all men on Facebook over the age of 25, under the age of 40, okay? Say that's your target audience. Because you only have $100 a day to test, when something is good enough, where it's like 80% of your goal, you can turn off the other tests and run just this thing. And then now all your $100 is being spread among these 3 audiences against this one creative concept. Now what you've done effectively is you've begun to scale your spend inside of this concept. Your daily budget hasn't grown, but your investment in this concept is actually now tripled. Which means the creative inside of that concept should be getting more and more comments and likes and shares and conversions. Which means if it's a strong concept, the performance will go up. Because Facebook's now getting more signals on who likes this creative, and you're able to really start to adjust. Hi, Dora. And you really start able to adjust which creatives are working better. Say one of the creatives is just not working at all, turn it off. One of the creatives is working really well, and it's starting to get more and more of the spend. That's a great sign. Your campaign and your creatives are starting to evolve, and they're starting to mature, and that's what you really want. Now, in this case, 2 things can happen. We'll go with the worst case first. Maybe, and this happens most of the time, my batting average right now is about 1 out of 10, right? 1 out of 10 ideas is a win, 1 out of 11. So, like I said, it took me 6 to 8 weeks of testing before I hit a home run. And if it takes you that long, don't worry, you're right on track, okay? And the net effect of that is I was able to over 10x my positive creative while maintaining my bottom line and massively ramp up my spend. But we'll get there, right? That's the wonder story of why you should buy this thing, whatever. I'm not selling shit. I'm just telling you my experience and how I'm trying to help you. So anyway, in a bad situation, hi Eldon, how you doing? In a bad situation, if this isn't working for you, if as you begin to scale it, the performance kind of stays around that 80% or begins to drop, it'll begin to drop A, because you're going after bigger audiences and it really can't handle that scaling, or B, because it only kind of got lucky the first few times, and as you spend more money into it and as it matures, Facebook can't find any more low-hanging fruit that responds to that creative concept. As that happens, you can start to turn off that 2% and the broad or the 1%. As that occurs, when you turn one off, you turn on a new concept. In our theoretical budget here of $100, where we can afford to be testing 3 cells at any time, you need to have all 3 on. Now, if you've got one entry level, this kind of fails, this kind is okay, but this one's a winner, so we've turned these 2 off, and now we've expanded this one from a 1% to a 2 and a broad, and eventually it doesn't really get better. What we want to see is, as we do this, the performance improves. You want to see over a 1, right? I thought that's our benchmark. You should be able to see above goal performance here. And if you don't see it, and as time goes by, it doesn't improve, then it's not good enough, and you turn it off, and you launch with new creative concepts. And what I'm going to say is, if it's close but not good enough, then it's not good enough. You need something that is strong, that will win. And one of the reasons that we're going against the 1% lookalike and the 2% in the broad is these are very, very large audiences that can be scaled into. We're not trying to find all the incremental little places where maybe this creative can work and this idea can work and I can find my target customer over here. We want something that works to everybody. And more often than not, we're going to lose because the creative, it's tough to appeal to everyone. It's tough to find the right way of selling your product to your target customer in a way where you can set up that one ad against an audience of millions and continue to ramp up your spend. Now, let's go in the other way. 1 out of 10 times, you've struck gold. And you find, I found something that works against all 3 of these audiences, and it's profitable every single day. And the longer I run it, the stronger it gets. So now, this campaign is no longer a testing campaign. This thing has moved to what I call the majors. It's now a new bucket-based CBO campaign. Now, what we need to do to build the bucket is we're going to start stealing money from other prospecting efforts, right? So say out of your $1,000 a day typical, in this budget, you've got $700 a day that's pure prospecting, right? Now, if this campaign is outperforming those other ones, start to steal money from it. Let's steal $100 from the other campaigns, okay? So now this campaign has a campaign budget of $200 instead of $100. Now, it won't spend that $200 right away because you still have those min and max spend limits of $25 to $37.50. But what we can do is begin to raise those. So now we can double those budgets. So we go from 25 to 50 and from $37.50, to $75. My max is 50% more than my min, and I want to make sure that my total campaign budget is more than that. Generally, I try to make my campaign total budget about 20% to 25% more than the sum total of my mins. So in this case, you've now taken your 3 audiences and you've gone from $25 a day to $50 a day, but you're not letting them spend anything it wants to. You're saying spend between $50 and $75 a day. Now, theoretically, back in the day, this would be doubling your budget, which breaks the Facebook algorithm. But inside of CBO, because you're only setting a min and a max, you're not actually breaking the system. What you're doing is you're just giving it more threshold. And theoretically now, because you've set that $25 to $37.50, you've been probably spending closer to $35, $40 some days even, because it's going to may or may not overspend that budget only by a little. So when you ramp it up to your minimum being $50, you're really only pushing that budget by about 20 to 25%, and you're allowing it to spend more if it thinks it can win. Now, so in this way, you begin to scale your CBO campaign, your creative testing campaign. And when this happens, begin to add in other audiences. Where I would go next, lookalike 3%, right? The 1 and the 2 have worked, try the 3. So this way, you've now got 4 audiences, 3 of which are lookalikes based around your hardcore best number 1 customer, and one's broad, which is the biggest fucking audience you possibly can win against. Now this new one, set it back at your testing budget piece, right? That 25 or whatever. So now the sum total of your minimums is 50, 50, 50, 25. So your minimum spending is $175 a day, and there's a $25, roughly 10% of your total 200 that is capable of spending however Facebook wants. And then what you start to do as this process continues is you just start to build out more and more audiences that work against this original concept. And those can be interest groups, those can be behaviors, those can be lookalikes, those can be anything you want. But the idea here is you've gone through and you cycled through creatives. And remember, for me, it took me 6 to 8 weeks. I found 1 out of 10 ideas actually worked. But as that's worked, I can raise my minimum spends on my winning audiences and raise the maximum too. And as a result, the net effect, and I can add in new audiences, and as a result, the net effect is my campaign budget has to increase, because it's my campaign budget's about 20% more than my minimums. Now what I'm doing is I'm successfully scaling my winning creative. And I got that winning creative out of creative testing. What you'll find is, as you do this, you can steal more and more of your budget from other campaigns which are kind of iffy and rally behind this winning creative. Okay? Now, I know this is kind of just the homework for this week. Is what I really want to talk about is, let's take your best creative and not only set that as the benchmark, but I want you to use that initially right now as your first creative in this testing. Is steal your best creative and drop it in as testing and do 2 more ideas. And you're going to start to build all the ad sets around your winning creative, where that's just the best sales pitch that you have, and you're trying to go after your top customers and expand the look of your top customers around all of your audiences. Now, the net effect of what you're doing here is you're taking your best sales pitch against your best customers, and you're raising your campaign budget because you're horizontally scaling against more audiences. You're building the bucket for your bucket-based CBO, and you're raising your minimum spends inside of your each ad set, each audience inside of that bucket-based CBO, which raises the floor of spending, which is how you can slowly and progressively scale your overall spend. So if you know you've got 3 audiences that you're rallying around, and it goes from $25 a day to $50 a day to 100 to 200, whatever, the other ad sets don't necessarily have to win right away, because you're getting a larger portion of your spend is going here, and you know that this is solid, and as long as this is solid, you can lose here. And you can lose here for a while, because the net effect, the net performance of the entire CBO, if 75% of it is going to something getting you over a 1, say 50% of your audiences are getting you a 1.2, the other 50% can get you a 0.8, and you still net out at a 1, right? So, as long as these 3 continue, you're continually able to raise your minimums, and you can do this every day even, or every few days, right? Raise your minimum and raise your maximum to be 50% more than that, and then your total campaign budget is 20% more than that number. You can continue to add in new audiences. Now, in these new audiences, not only do you go after new interest groups and new lookalikes and new behaviors, but you can even go in and try to have ones that target Instagram only, right? Or Facebook only. Because your entire account will begin to scale this creative where it finds winners. So maybe you're launching an ad and it's got auto placement and it worked really, really well against Facebook placement. It's going to try that ad against Facebook as you spend more. It's not going to really try as much other places. It will, but percentage-wise, it's never going to really put a risk by running it into Instagram. If you find a winning audience, try it out on Instagram. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, cut it out, and that's fine. But what you're going to try to do is ramp this up. Now, in my testing, what I can tell you is that I took an original idea, and I tested it, right? And we eventually found a winner. And then I was able to scale that thing up over 10x in a week. And the way I did that was I went from the 3 audiences to over 20. And now some of those were running, far less budget than others, right? Some budgets were over 1,000, some were like 100, right? And again, this is just for the purpose of this conversation. But the net effect of this is you're able to, with stability in mind, ramp up your CBO because you're only running your best ads to your best customers. Now, when you find this winner, that's no longer a testing budget. So you start a new testing campaign and you relaunch everything that was currently in testing or anything that's running, but you launch new concepts and you try to find another winner. What you're hoping is that if you can get one win a month, right? One win every 2 months, and you can start to have your winning campaigns, your winning concepts, your winning bucket-based CBOs to comprise the majority of your ad spend, then all of your campaigns are going to be stable because they're built around setting your best performing creative to your best audiences. Now, eventually, you're going to run into many other problems, but we'll get to there as we get to there, where maybe all of your creative wins because it targets the same problem and the same solution, right? So, for instance, with the dog food, if all my winning creative is around the dog eating the food, most likely all of my winning audiences are going to be all the same audiences. Now, eventually, you can get into a point where you've got 2 or 3 of these winning creatives that you've scaled much beyond, where you've actually been able to ramp up your entire budget. You've maybe doubled your actual daily budget because you're building it on the back of this creative that's profitable for you, and it's driving retargeting, and it's driving branded search, and you're getting more traffic on Amazon, and you're seeing other channels ramp up because people are finding about your product and buying where they want to buy. As you get to that stage, you're going to find that there are some audiences that crush it for you, and there's some audiences that always fail. Now, I challenge you at that point to not look at it as these audiences don't want my product, because they do. The problem is your creative concepts that are winning, that you've made more iterations of, that you're trying out, that you're really ramping up, don't work against that audience. So now my challenge isn't that I found lookalikes and I found men really want to buy this product for my dog because it's the dog food. What I need to know now is what doesn't work for me is apparently when I'm trying to target, Purina or all my other dog food competitors, so I'm trying to do conquesting, it's not winning. So I need to build an ad that says that my dog food is not only better priced, but it's higher quality and the dog likes it more, whatever it is, and do a head-to-head comparison maybe with my competitor so that I can target their customers. And that can be the next creative concept, because now your creative isn't being used to try to make money on Facebook. Your creative is being used to try to solve problems and fix gaps inside of your targeting, because you know there's customers that you're not winning against. All of the audiences that fail as you scale up your campaign are opportunities for new creative concepts. You're going to try to solve those problems with new ads. And you can afford to do it because you've been running these creatives and been running this rigorous testing model so that it only works against super big audiences, so that you know if you're going to win against the lookalike audience, and you can ramp up your spend. And as you ramp up your spend, your CPMs, your CPCs, and your CPAs don't really move that much. I mean, maybe you go from, maybe you lose a little bit of profit margin, but you've doubled your spend. Oh, well, that's a problem that everybody will be really happy to have. As long as those CPMs and CPCs roughly stay the same, you can scale more. Now, once you get to the point where, all right, my CPAs are rising past profitability for me, and my CPMs are costing too much, and my CPCs are starting to spike, you know that you've hit basically how much you can spend against that audience on any given day. Now, previously when we ran up against this problem, the solutions were manual bidding and in other things. What I really want to stress to you, and this goes against stuff that I was talking about 3 months ago, because the Facebook platform has evolved, CBO has gotten better, and we're going to evolve with it, is that the problem is your creative. Your creative can only spend that much against those audiences, and that's okay. Because as you find a winning creative, you're now going to start testing other ones. As soon as you win on those 1%, 2% and broad lookalikes, and your entire testing budget is taken up by winners, and you begin scaling it, you start a new testing campaign, and you start funneling in concepts again, and you try to find winners. And like I said, if you find one winner every month or 2 months, you're right on schedule. Because in 6 months from now, if you've got 2 maybe 3 winners that can all more or less handle the daily budget that used to be your entire ability to spend, then you've doubled or tripled your effective budget on Facebook. Now, some of us don't really have an overall budget that we can spend every month, right? And this is to solve for that problem. Now, if you're an advertiser that says, I can only spend X amount a day, well then, as you do this, the net effect is you're not necessarily trying to find more and more places where you win at your target, performance of 1X. You're trying to find one that gets a better return than the other one. So you're solving for a different problem, but this is still the same way to solve it. Now, what I can say is, what I would love to see from you all, to really show me that you've done the homework today and really, earned yourself, a free ebook or, discount to the Slack room or whatever. And by the way, for the homework people, I'm giving a 50% discount on the Slack, right? That's going to be a reward for doing your homework. So if you want a 50% discount on the Slack room, all you have to do is do this bit of homework and you're in. Your homework is going to be, hey Austin, your homework is going to be taking your winning creative, right? And one other ad, right? I don't need you to do 3, right? Take your best ad and one new concept. And you can lie to me, I don't care. If you want to lie to me and try to trick me into getting something, that you're the only one that's going to lose. So I don't give a shit. But I would love you to test at least 2. And I stress, if you can do 3, that's even better. But build a creative testing campaign. You can do it today. If you have 2 really good ads, great, run those 2 and 1 new idea. All right, that's fine. Like, all I want to see from you is building a creative concept testing campaign where you take your best concept and your new concepts, right? 2 or 3 of them, and you're going to take 10% of your overall daily spend, and you're going to put that inside of a CBO campaign at 10% of your daily spend. So if your daily spend is $500, it's going to be 50. If it's 10,000, it's going to be 1,000. So your campaign budget is set to that. And then you're going to set up your ad sets. Each ad set is going to be set up against the lookalike, 1% value-based lookalike off of your pixel, lookalikes of everyone that's bought from you in the last 30 days, and a lookalike of the people that have bought the product you're trying to sell, the one product you're trying to sell over the last 6 months. 1% lookalike, those 3 stacked, excluding site traffic and excluding previous purchasers. You're going to run those 3 audiences inside of 1 ad set, and you're going to set a min and a max. And you want your net total of that minimum. So if it's $100, run it at $25 and $37.50. If you're only running 2 and you can't do a 3rd creative concept, that's fine. Run it at 40 and 60. Minimum at 40, maximum at 60. And run both of them together. I would really highly recommend you do at least 3, but to get your homework, to win this week, to get into the free shit, all you need to do is 2. And then start running that. Okay? And what I want from you all is you can just DM me. Here's my CBO campaign. Here's my 2 audiences. And here's how I built it out. Here's my 1% lookalikes. Okay? I don't need to see anything else. Just DM me that. And then I will give you the link to, to get into the Patreon, to the Slack, 50% off. Or I'll get you the links to any of the ebooks that you want. We'll work with you on getting the Scrum Doc together. I'm trying to help you out here as much as I can. So all I need for you to do is start to build this creative concept testing, because this will inevitably help you scale your CBO. The only way to scale CBO is to have creative that works, that you can ramp up, and then we're going to use these min and maxes, and then you're going to set your maximum budget to roughly 20% or 25% over the total net of your mins, and we're going to scale out in audiences, both horizontally with more audiences, and then ramping up the mins in our winning audiences and stealing budget from other places, and eventually replacing all of our prospecting spend with these winning concepts. And then if you want to, and something that I do, is I take that winning concept after it's proven to scale and it's really good, and throw it inside my retargeting ad sets. Let that start to fight inside of retargeting, because I know that this creative is something that my customers respond to. Why not have it be inside of my retargeting, so I don't even have to upsell people. I don't even have to throw them a discount. I'm just hitting them with a second touch of the same fucking sales pitch. And maybe if I've got 2 or 3 versions of that concept, one of them got them in and they see the second one, or they see the same thing. People need to see a message 7 to 8 times before they internalize it once. So if you tell somebody, you tell your roommate or your significant other, your coworker or something, and they don't hear you the 3rd, 4th time, it's not that they're being disrespectful. It's that the human psyche needs to hear something. That's why frequency is important. Every advertiser, we know that. It's not going to be first touch somebody buys. Right? If somebody sees a billboard, it doesn't mean that they're going to go buy the product today. Right? That they try to buy that billboard 3, 4 times. Maybe go into the store. That billboard's your prospecting ad. By the time they go into your store, that's the retargeting, right? Because there's site traffic, visitors, and you're trying to get them to come back in, right? And that's where you get the emails and everything else. You need to have this customer experience. So I'm telling you, this is how I'm massively ramping up. This is how I'm using bucket-based CBO, which is something we've talked about here for months now. This is the now really matured way. I'm finalizing my strategy, and I'm meeting with the internal Facebook auction and delivery team, their measurement team, and their engineering team to show them how I'm winning on CBO, because they don't know how to use it. I'm working with them on building decks, on training their reps on how to show people how to use this so that they can win. This is the kind of stuff we'll be going over at Facebook conventions over the next 6 months, and eventually make it out to you over the next year. And if you want to get more in-depth details, and if you want to get more help, you can get into the Slack, and we're helping out there. I mean, there are fucking screenshots and manuals and all sorts of crazy stuff from everybody in there. Big shout out to Skylar and Raba, and I'm not going to get in too deep, but it is slamming in there. So I'm telling you what's working for me and how I'm winning. And this is something we've been building together for 6 months. This is the mature way of doing it. It's creative testing and then building a bucket-based CBO campaign around your winning creative. And you're testing that creative against really big fucking audiences, because really big fucking audiences are easy to scale into with stability. And you're ramping up your budgets in CBO. The one thing I can tell you almost assuredly now is CBO campaign, you need to set min and max budgets. You need to control the spend. That is going to tell Facebook, instead of your ad set budgets being the controlling factor, you're now saying don't spend $50, spend between 40 and 65. In there wherever you see fit, and I know that there might be more opportunity here today, more opportunity here today. And this is the way that works inside the system, is instead of you going in and adjusting ad set budget levels every day, you're saying, I'm willing to throw X amount at this set of audiences, and I'm going to give you, and you need to spend at least this much, but anywhere where you see fit, that way you're now being proactive in setting up your budget allocation instead of reacting to yesterday's results, which you're going to change your budgets for to spend tomorrow, and you're always going to be chasing your fucking tail, and you're never going to be able to spend more. You're never going to be able to increase spend, and as Facebook gets more and more expensive and your creative gets older and older and more out of date, you are going to continue to lose ground every fucking month, which is the life story of every advertiser that I'm meeting. And what I can tell you, the honest fucking truth is, this is the biggest win that I've had on Facebook in maybe a year and a half or 2 years, is figuring this shit out. And I've been working with their teams closely. I've got reps in my office. I've got 2 reps in my office every fucking week. And I'm working very closely with their internal teams. And this is what we're going over. This is the number one driver of things outside the Power 5 and outside of everything else. I mean, obviously you need to get your shit together. But if you have your shit together, this is how you move the needle. Anyway. Oh, that's right. I'm out of fucking coffee. There was a drop left. Okay. We're also going to talk about some best practices for retargeting, and so we'll get into that. And what we want to do here, and this is not going to be nearly a deep dive, the homework for this week has been everything. So that's been where it's at. For retargeting, what we're going to do is really focus on multiple steps. And it's inside the customer journey, right? So number one, the highest level, let's start at the bottom. So the lowest level we're going to retarget is maybe initiate checkouts. Now, if you have a store with a lot of traffic, this is something to be valuable. Before we get started any further, I want you to know that if your audience doesn't have at least 1,000 people in it, it's probably not big enough to really take advantage of. Facebook's going to have a hard time spending into it, and it's going to be very difficult for you to find efficiency and volume. So when you're deciding what are the audiences that I want to target and what are the windows that I want to target, build your audiences out. And if your audiences don't have at least 1,000 people in them, odds are they're going to lose for you. Odds are you're not going to be able to spend a lot. You might get sales. You might have a 5x sale every 7 days. And maybe that's enough to keep it alive for you. And that's not me telling you shouldn't do it. But when you want to see stable, steady results, you need to have an audience of at least 1,000 people. So anyway, at the bottom is your initiate checkouts. Above that is your add to carts. Above that is your view content, which is somebody's been to a page with a product on it, been to a product detail page. And then above that is your site traffic, which means they've been to anywhere on your website. And then above that, you've got engagers and video viewers and stuff. And my honest opinion is I look at those as prospecting audiences. Because yes, they've seen you, but they haven't been to your site yet. They don't have an intent to purchase. When I'm running a retargeting campaign, I only want to retarget people that have shown an intent to buy. And the reason that's really important is because your retargeting campaign should be where you print money, right? That is where you should be getting at least a 2x net, right? 2, 3, 4, 5x on your retargeting. This is where you're setting up your dynamic ads and everything else. If that person has seen your ads and has not yet chosen to go to your website, then, and to use the example of your billboard versus being in the store, there are people that have only ever been seeing a billboard. Now, if you drive by a billboard every day, and then all of a sudden the company's calling you on the phone saying, hey, I saw that you were really looking at this billboard, what do you want to buy? You're going to be like, hey, fuck you, and hang up. So don't hit somebody with a retargeting ad that's never been in your store. Hopefully that makes sense. So when you're building out those bucket-based CBOs, like, hit up your ad engagers for the last year. Hit up people that have watched your videos. Like, that's a perfectly reasonable audience to target, along with interest groups and behaviors and lookalikes. Perfectly fucking reasonable prospecting audience. Now, it's a warmer prospecting audience than maybe cold fucking traffic, but those people have basically said, I've seen what you have to show me. I'm not interested enough to click on this ad and go to your website. So it may or may not work out well for you, but I don't want it polluting your retargeting pools. So we have our initiate checkouts, and below that there's also payment ad, but I mean, at some point, the amount of you that are going to have a large enough volume to run payment ad, let me put it this way. I don't have enough volume to run that, and write reliably at scale. And I am doing 7-figure, monthly budgets, so you don't need to worry about it. What I can say is go for the initiate checkout. Maybe. I mean, honestly, the best ways to win it are your add to cart, your view contents, and your site traffic. If you get those three, you're in business. So build out those audiences. Look at the audience size. Now, maybe it's add to cart 14-day is over 1,000. That's great. Run that as an audience. Or maybe it's view content in the last 7 days. That's great. The further away from the buying decision, one, there should be more people, but two, there's less intent, so that's fine. You can win with that kind of tiered methodology, and I go into this a lot in the retargeting ebook, and again, check it out. It's on the Patreon, or if you get into the Slack, you get all the ebooks and everything for free because they're in there. So check it out. So if you have your add to cart, and you've got your view content, and then maybe it's add to cart 14-day, and view content 7-day, website traffic 7 days, right? Maybe those are the audiences that are large enough for you to scale into. What you want to do is, in your view content, exclude your add to cart. You want to say that if somebody's actually added something to cart, they're no longer eligible for this view content audience. And if somebody has viewed content, exclude them from your site traffic audience. Because if somebody's actually been on your site and tried to show a higher level of intent by actually going to specific products, that's a different type of person. And you want to pool these people by their level of intent. So site traffic is being the least level of intent, add to cart being the highest level of intent. So you want to make sure those exclusions are in place. Now, when you're excluding your retargeting from your prospecting efforts, generally speaking, you only need to really exclude the highest level of your retargeting. And that's because you're probably not executing. If you're retargeting add to cart 14-day, those people who are in that retargeting pool, those people, you can exclude your site traffic for that period of time, right? So if somebody's been to your site in the last week, 7 days, and they're inside your website traffic last 7 days, great. Now if they've been in the last 2 weeks, but it's been over a week, so they were there 10 days ago, and you're not able to run a retargeting campaign that's profitable against them, don't let them see your prospecting ads, because that person isn't good enough yet. Fuck them. Give them time to cool down and come back, right? Because you've been hitting them up, right? You're spending money on this person that's basically told you to go fuck yourself. It's an ex-girlfriend or boyfriend that you're texting late at night. Fuck them. When they come back around, great. And let them give you the money, right? So in this methodology, and by the way, this is the number one way that I've always set up my retargeting. This has evolved over 5 or 6 years of buying. This is how I run DR campaigns for $500 a month clients to $50,000 a day, right? This is how I set it up. So you exclude your way up the chain, okay? Now, some people will say, put different offers in different places and do different things. What I tend to find is I do dynamic ads, right? So if you've been here, you're running DPA at those levels. And I also find that if you're really trying to sell one specific product, the majority have one slamming product, right? Everybody's basically got 1 or 2 things that are floating the rest of the store, and then everything else is kind of there. What I would say is build a deal around your number one product, right? And also run it just by itself. So what you can say is, say you've got your $50 product from your prospecting, retarget people with that exact same fucking product. I would also hit them up with the DPA, right? Now, in addition to that, if you want to get fancy, you can try to upsell somebody by saying, we'll buy one and get it 150% off. What I would say is the DPA ad should show them the exact thing that they're looking for, right? So DPA, single image, and carousel, that'll basically serve them the exact sales pitch they saw the first time. And you can make that image or the first card in your DPA the exact ad that they saw at the prospecting level, and that will crush. That will crush, almost guaranteed. Your other ad, get a sales pitch, and think about this as, when you're watching infomercials, right, and they have the knife, right? Oh, like, here's the knife, it's great, but wait, there's more, there's more. At some point, you can upsell somebody enough that there's enough value. Maybe they don't want to buy the thing for $50, but if they buy one and get another one for 50% off and free shipping, oh shit, that's a really good deal, I might as well do it, right? What I find is you want to upsell in your retargeting. Don't downsell. Don't offer. Let your dynamic ad be where you show a discount code. Let your static ad be where you show an upsell. So your dynamic ad might have your code for free shipping or your code for 10% off, right? And maybe in your add to cart, you've got your 10% off, whatever, right? And then Or maybe you add to cart, you've got your free shipping, and you view content, you've got your 10% off, and then your site traffic, it's just fuck you, this is what we have for sale, because the closer somebody is to the sale, the better the offer you want to give them. Hopefully that makes sense. It's offer journey stacking, and by the way, doing that thing right is better than any ClickFunnels web page that'll steal your money and really drive people away that you'll never reach. Because don't make it complicated for somebody to buy from you. You need to make it really fucking simple. And if they show a high level of intent, give them whatever they need so that they'll walk away from you with a purchase, right? You ever see flea market flip, or you ever haggled on something? When somebody's ready to haggle with you, they're ready to buy. And you just need to make them the deal that's going to push them across the finish line. Get that sale today, move on. Maybe it hurts your bottom line on that one sale, but if you set that up, you're going to get higher volume downstream, let it go. So that's your DPA, and then your other ad is an upsell, right? So it's not the free shipping or 10% off or whatever. It's the buy one, get one, right? Or it's the buy one, get one 50% off, right? Or it's the buy two, get one free shipping, or get free shipping, or buy two, get one free, whatever that deal is, right? So then basically what you're showing somebody after they come to your site, after they see the prospecting ad and they've shown a level of intent, your dynamic ad is trying to drive down CPA by getting a cheaper sale price so that the person's more likely to buy, and you're showing them a slew of products so that they know everything that they can buy and they buy cheap as possible right now. And you're also hitting them with a non-dynamic ad that's trying to get the highest AOV, the highest average order value. And then the mix between that, if you need to make more sales this week, you're not concerned about your profit margin on each sale, but you need more sales, then you can shuffle your money over to the DPA. And if you're in a spot where I don't have as much budget, but I need to make more money off of each sale, you can reduce your DPA and increase your spend, your share of spend on the non-dynamic ad where you're upselling people. And again, let's use the $1,000 a day budget example, which is, again, only for math. If it's 500 and 500, theoretically you should have a benchmark of, look, my CPA is going to be X and my AOV is going to be Y, right? Now, if you need to drive more volume of sales, maybe you go 650 DPA, 350 dynamic. Now, this is going to get you more sales. The sales are going to provide you a lower average order value, right? Because you're giving them the 10% off, or you're giving them the free shipping or something like that. You're not making as much money off the sales, but hopefully you're making more sales. Or if you're in a situation where you need to maximize your profit margin, but you don't have any more money to spend, then you can take the DPA down and go maybe 650, 350 here, as an example. And then you're making sure that people, they're checking out with more cart size, right? So yes, they're getting free shipping, but it's because they bought two things, right? So now you're making less transactions, but each transaction is worth more money. And that way you can really balance your budget as a business owner or as an advertiser or somebody running these ads. You're able to run your overall effect for your store. DPA is going to get you higher volume with a lower cost per sale, but it's going to get you a lower average order value. People are going to spend less money, but they're going to spend more often. The upsell, people are going to spend more money, but they're going to buy less often. And that's the real fucking mix. Hi, Josh. Hey, buddy, let's chat about the thing. Yeah, Josh, let's chat about the thing. I sent you the stuff. Let's do it. I got some other stuff for you, Josh. Anyway, so those are your two things. So, and then your audiences, again, make sure your audiences are at least 1,000 people. And you can go back in previous weeks and see the tactics about using impression or daily unique reach and managing your frequency. Those are all really great things. But I wanted today to talk about one really high-level concept, which is the creative testing, and one really low-level concept, which is the retargeting best practices. That is the way, at minimum, if you do those two things, your store is going to be really good. Now, if you start to implement the stuff I talked about last week about Instagram growth hacking and, competitor arbitrage, and then using those other third-party tools, which are profit-only commission-based, you're basically only going to be running prospecting ads that win in you're going to be running testing here until you find a winner. You're going to be retargeting the shit out of people that have already shown intent, that have come to you from the Instagram and the bot stuff, and then come from that other commission based. So your retargeting is only printing money at a good profit margin, and your prospecting is only testing until you find a winner. You do that long enough, and eventually you're going to find a winner here that you can scale up. This thing will scale up with it. And then all you're doing is basically waiting until you hit a home run, and then you fucking ramp the shit out of it. And you might hit a home run week 1. It might be week 8. But eventually you're going to do it. And when you do that, your store will begin to take off. And it's going to do so in a way that is stable, that is projectable, that you're measuring, that you can scale against. That's how you win. If you're not doing this core element of stuff, you're going to be chasing your tail. You're going to be wasting your time. You're going to be wasting your money. And you're going to be losing ground against your competitors that are figuring this shit out and edging you out of the marketplace. So anyway, that's what we got this week. I really love you guys. Thank you so, so much. And we're going to be talking about some other things. I'm going to be following up with the ebook. I'm going to be following up with the giveaways. And again, do the homework this week. And you get, the goodies they got from Facebook, or you get the discount links to join the Slack room, or you can get into the Patreon, any of the ebooks that you want to get your hands on. So let me know what it is that I can do to make it worthwhile for you. And I'm going to start doing some video run-throughs of the ebooks, and I got some of that stuff I need to figure out. But anyway, if you really enjoy this, please invite a friend to the room. I hope I've answered all of your questions. I really enjoyed you guys. There's nothing else here in this chat that I can see. We've taken care of all of it. It's been a bit light here. Let me know if if Sunday mornings are better for you than Saturday mornings. I really want to make sure that I'm hitting everybody at the right time. I love you guys. I'll see you soon. Just go do this shit. This is easy as fuck. It's easy as fuck to start winning. Or at least start failing in a way that's going to get you money. So, I'll see you guys next week.